What's up, guys? This is Taking the Field with Stevie Mac, episode 40 of the podcast. I'm your host, Stephen MacDonald, and on this episode, we're going to talk about what's next for the PLL. So I did a similar topic to this a while back prior to the championship series, I believe, but now that the championship series is over, I want to go back and re-examine this topic just a little bit more in depth. So in 2019, the PLL gave us mic'd up players for the first time in pro sports history, basically. And in 2020, they gave us sports betting in the PLL. Pro Lacrosse Talk and Flow Fantasy even teamed up to give us PLL Fantasy just this year for the championship series. So now, where do we go from here? What does the PLL need to do now moving forward into year 3? And is there something specifically that you guys want to see them do that they haven't really gotten into doing yet? It could be something merch related or broadcast related or whatever. Just anything that comes to your mind is what this episode is all about. And I had a couple ideas which I'll get to here in just a few minutes, but I asked this question on Twitter a few hours ago. At Stevie Mac Media is my Twitter handle if you guys want to check that out. And one comment that I got back from one of my followers, and I'm going to paraphrase this kind of in my own words here, is that they basically said the PLL needs to kind of cut the theatrics a bit and just focus on the lacrosse product on the field and just playing the games between the lines. And that if they really have the best players in the world like they advertise they do, then just let the product speak for itself on the field. And I can agree with this to an extent, but I kind of want to play devil's advocate here and kind of show both sides to this argument here. And the other side for me is really that it was fun giving guys like Matt Gaudette his 5 minutes of fame during the championship series for chirping Chaos goalie Blaze Reardon. And that's just kind of one of the situations that came to my mind when I read this person's comment to my tweet. And that I know for me personally on the podcast, we've gone into those discussions many times before with the chirping incident that went on with Matt Gaudette and things like that. And you guys clearly loved listening to those episodes, as those were some of the highest viewed episodes that I've ever done. So that was amazing for this podcast. But really, I think for me, it's that to say that something like chirping, for an example here, is a bad look for lacrosse is completely absurd. And I talked about this on those episodes back then. And that it really, for me, goes into every sport anywhere ever, really, at any level. And I can almost assure you of that. Chirping is not solely exclusive to just lacrosse and its athletes. And I think that for me personally, I'm the kind of person where just let the guys play. You know, let the guys go out there, let them have fun, let them do the behind the back passes and make the highlight plays and make it look all pretty and everything, you know, make Sports Center like Josh Byrne and those guys did this year in the championship series, but let the guys just play. You know, and if chirping's part of that, then so be it. Because like I said, it's just a part of sports. And I guess you just have to deal with that if you're not okay with that. But that was one of the comments that I got, so I just wanted to address that here for just a minute or so. But some of the ideas that I had, and I've talked about this one specifically on past episodes, I know, is that for me, I'd really love to see what they could do with the creation of a PLL video game. And there's a couple ways that I think they could do this, and I've talked about these on past episodes. And I mean, heck, for even one of them, I actually did an entire project around it for one of my classes in college. And the first one is kind of the idea that it could be a game developed by EA Sports, and it would be similar to that of the Casey Powell games that you can buy currently, but just with better graphics and overall better gameplay. Not that I have had a negative experience playing the Casey Powell games, but I would definitely love to see what the PLL could do by taking something similar to that and kind of making it their own and just kind of making some tweaks to it to make it an overall better gameplay experience. So that was one of the ideas for a PLL video game that I had. And again, I talked about that on a past episode of the podcast. But then one of the other ideas that I had for this came when they announced their backyard lacrosse collection just a few months ago prior to the championship series. And myself and one of my Twitter followers, Robert Allen, shout out to him, kind of got into it a little bit on Twitter discussing what it would look like to have a backyard lacrosse video game. Because I'll be completely honest with you, I don't know about the rest of you, but I really thought that backyard lacrosse collection was going to include the release of a PLL backyard lacrosse video game. So what me and Robert came up with was that the gameplay could be customized to where you could do things like 3-on-3 straight up, both ends of the field, back and forth, lots of transition game, or it could be something kind of like 6-on-6 plus a goalie, where you have 2 defensemen, 2 midfielders, 2 attackmen, and a goalie, like I mentioned, and then you're playing 4-on-4 either end of the field with 2 guys back, whether it be your defenseman staying back when you're on offense or your attackman staying back when you're on defense or what have you. But that was kind of the idea that we came up with for an overall gameplay mode. And then one of the other things we talked about, which was really interesting, was that you could either play a game mode as the PLL players themselves, so like Little Rambo, Rabel, Zed Williams, whoever, and then there could be a separate game mode for the Backyard Sports specific characters, because there was a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram specifically when this Backyard Lacrosse collection was being teased that were saying that they would love to play as some of those characters as well. So we kind of got into that a little bit as well with the Backyard Lacrosse collection. And then my other idea that I came up with, and this was actually within hours of the championship game being played back on August 9th, is the idea of playing a collegiate showcase. So the idea for this would be similar to that of the Reese's Senior Bowl for college football, where you would have basically the top college seniors from around the country playing on the same field for one game prior to the collegiate draft. And I think that this would be good on several levels. From a fan standpoint, it would be amazing because you'd get to watch what we would consider the next generation of pro lacrosse players, such as T.D. Erlin and, Mac O'Keefe and those guys, all playing on the same field at the same time together. From a PLL standpoint, this would be good, for viewership, like I mentioned, with the fans, but also it would give these PLL coaches a chance to work with some of these high-profile prospects before the PLL collegiate draft and actually get to work with these guys a little bit more hands-on, and vice versa. I think it would give the athletes a chance to work with some of these coaches, guys like Jim Stagnita, Nat St. Laurent, Andy Towers, whoever it may be, and you could even divide up the coaches to one team or another. So you could have Jim Stagnita, Nat St. Laurent, and Andy Towers coaching one team, and then you could have, Ben Rubior and some of the other coaches on the other side. So I think that would be a really interesting idea to kind of bring all these players in and just put together a game, whether it be, this winter sometime, maybe they do it out in California or in Florida or wherever, or maybe they do it in the spring, literally weeks before the draft happens. But I think that that would be kind of appointment viewing for us lacrosse fans, and they could even do it on NBC Sports Gold, where if you don't have a subscription for NBC Sports Gold, I highly recommend it. They put out a lot of really great content during the off season on there for those that have subscribed to it to enjoy. And plus you get every game archived there as well from the past 2 seasons. So you definitely get your money's worth there. But those are some of the ideas that I had. I also shared, like I said, the one comment that I got on Twitter at Stevie Mac Media, and I will leave you guys with this. I've been teasing it for several days now, so here it is. I have teamed up with Monkey Sports to bring you guys a 15% off at Lax Monkey, Baseball Monkey, and Hockey Monkey online, and the deal will go from September 7th to the 21st, so that's today, September 7th to the 21st, and the deal is not applicable with other offers, and some restrictions on the hockey site, I've been told, may apply, but you can use the promo code VIP 336047, that's VIP 336047 for 15% off your gear at either Lacrosse Monkey, Baseball Monkey, or Hockey Monkey where it applies. So that'll do it for me on episode 40 of Taking the Field with Stevie Mac. You can check out all past episodes of the podcast basically anywhere you get your podcast now. We've been expanding so much here over the past few weeks, but just to review, you can get it on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Anchor, iTunes, Google Podcasts, like I said, anywhere you guys get your podcast. But that'll do it for episode 40. I'll talk to you guys later.